I want to ask you something Columbus Short said since we're talking about that. He
Sure.
said he got some heat for saying that black men are dating outside their race because most black women are raised by single mothers and absentee fathers and taught a don't need a man mentality. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I would say to my brother Columbus Short, and I'm a fan of his. Are we not all victims of the systemic oppression and injustice that racism has introduced into our community? So just as you have black women who didn't grow up with their father, you have black men who didn't grow up with their fathers or their mothers. In other words, why is it acceptable for the black man raised by a black woman without his dad to reject a black woman raised by her mother without her dad? I think sometimes black men can be guilty of a double standard where we want a perfect offering when we ourselves are not a perfect offering. And to that point, I think black men need to recognize the fact that one of the reasons we have so much conflict with black women is because we don't operate on a masculine platform with our women all the time. We tend to operate on a female platform. For example, when a woman gets angry, rather than you trying to understand your queen non-emotionally. See, you can't have both people in a relationship with a low emotional IQ. Because if both people in a home, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, y'all going to argue over everything because nobody says, I am not going to emote over this. I'm not going to deal with this with feelings. I'm going to use reason and intelligence. That's what the man is supposed to do. Yeah. But guess what we do? Raised by single mothers, many of us, we reflect right back to them that emotional trauma that they throwing on us. So in essence, you have two females arguing, although one is in a man's body. Black men have to.
So the reason why I brought, and I should have separated the two, but I'll do one first. Because it was something that you had spoke of, HD. And I think that this is where it goes wrong, right? I think in you stated women get with the wrong brother. And I would assume when you say brother, I mean, you're meaning a black man, right? And he damages her. But I would say the same to men. You get with the wrong sister and she damages you. And now you think that all women don't bring plates in the morning. You think all women don't do these things. And I think it's just the result. I mean, it's just a case of both dating the wrong people and being damaged because they're dating the wrong people. Does that make sense? I think we both equally do it.
I think that you also have to understand, like, if you're not around it, you're not going to be able to see it. So even though you may know that there are men that do XYZ and women that do XYZ, if you have a group of people that aren't around that, just like you speak from your perspective of what you're seeing, they're speaking from their perspective and what they see. And I try to look at things because many people be like, well, Harrison, you don't have the testimony that these men have. I'm like, I don't. However, even though I don't have that testimony, I can listen to them and put the bigger piece of the puzzle together. I can sit here and say, well, there's these men that experience this. There's these men that experience this. And I can put the big picture together and actually get a more well-rounded thought process that say, hey, my personal experience doesn't necessarily speak for the whole. And I can sit here and say, and I can still have compassion for the sisters and for the brothers and understand, like, yo, just because I don't experience what everybody else experiences, that doesn't mean I can't sympathize with what they're going through.
I would agree with that. I think that's what we all are here doing, you know. I think, you know, I think that it just becomes it's a disservice when we throw everybody in a box and we overlook the people who are doing. Because I think that there are a lot of people who are serving their men, who are cooking for their men, who are sitting down, raising their children. And we keep giving so much credit to the streets. What we're really doing is saying in these streets, people are not acting like husband and wives, but it's the streets. You feel me? If you banging a chick once a week or whenever and you got nothing going on with her, what does she owe you? What do you owe her? Now, like AP said, if we were courting correctly, if we were all going in with intent the right intentions on dating and taking this to a different level, we will have a more accurate idea of what really is taking place. But we keep judging everything off of the streets, and that's not accurate.
So so this is where I disagree. I don't disagree. I just think that his statement was incomplete. He said that there were men operating in the feminine, I guess is what he was trying to say, and I don't agree with that. I believe it just looks a little different. I'll go into that in a minute. But he forgot to add that using his context, that there are women acting in the masculine. So when you got women acting in the masculine and men acting in the feminine, you're going to automatically run into an issue because at the end of the day, men still are the head. And you can't have two people trying to be the head. It just doesn't work that way. So I just think that he didn't complete
Well,
the
I
statement.
stopped
And
it.
I would say
I
that's where
stopped
the
it. He does. I just stopped
okay.
it. Yeah, he does mention that, it makes her become more masculine. And it's so funny that you say, because we hear that a lot in these spaces. Why are you so emotional? Well, because she's a female. If you don't want her to be emotional, then you're asking her to be more in the masculine. And I think a lot of people don't understand that you're trying to take the emotion out of. Now, you can be emotionally intelligent and kind of hold back and just control the way you're saying things, but women act on that we're emotional creatures, right? So to tell a woman to stop being emotional is like saying stop being a woman. That's like me telling a man stop being logical because you're a man. You're supposed to be.
And see, and that was kind of the point I was going to get to because what I don't think is, I don't think men act in the feminine. And I don't think women act in the masculine. I think that women are overall more emotional. So when when they perceive you're not leading properly, it's going to come off as extremely masculine. And but basically, it's just them being emotional. And when men are being emotional, it's it, it it's more it comes out more, comes out heavier, I'd say. I don't think it's them being feminine, it's just them being deeply emotional. And I won't say that's a man being, I used to. And I listened to Ali, and Ali made a lot of sense to me. I don't think that men or women operate in a feminine, masculine opposite. I don't think that happens. It just is heightened and it looks different for both. And back to the point, I think men need to take the lead on this. We need to start being more, at the end of the day, we need to be more intentional. And a lot of that other foolishness will stop if we are being intentional. If we're willing to drop women because they're not moving the way we want them to move, and stop being mesmerized by the box, because sometimes that box will wrap you up a little bit, and we got to be willing to say, you know what, nah, sis, this ain't the way it's going to be, and if this is the way you want it, thank you for your time. And I think vice versa, and I think women need to be willing to say, well, shit, if he's not going to give me what I want, I need to move on. And I just think that shit, and I've said this a million times, we spend a lot of time wasting time on some bullshit. I think we do that entirely too much. And we need to start being more purposeful in the way we move.